The Mercedes GLE, slap bang in between the GLC and the GLS, the conventional Mercedes SUV trio. And not only that, this is the GLE 53, which finds itself yet again in the middle of the GLE range itself. So let's see if this is a true Goldilocks SUV. So thanks to Mercedes of Milwaukee for letting me have a go. When this car came out for this generation a couple years ago, I really liked it. I thought it looked good, it had a great spacious interior, but the 350 with the turbo 4-banger didn't exactly make my heart sing. This fixed that. The GLE in 53 form packs the most powerful 6-cylinder you can get. 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet is what results from 3 liters of explosions arranged in a straight line. That's of course with the aid of a turbocharger, but the fun doesn't stop there. A 3-liter inline 6 though sounds kind of pedestrian by today's standards and something not worthy of wearing the most successful 3 letters in F1 over the past decade. What happens in addition to the 3-liter inline 6 turbo though is Mercedes EQ Boost 48-volt mild hybrid system, which takes some strain off of the engine to run certain electronics. But we're still not done. There's an electric supercharger thrown into the mix just for fun. All that power coming from all those places are somehow magically routed through AMG's 9-speed transmission to all 4 wheels via the clever 4MATIC Plus system. The net result? 0 to 60 in just 5 seconds. Yes, horsepower and 0 to 60 numbers are the things that sell cars today, especially when those cars say AMG all over the place. However, what should also matter to you is this. The thing I love about AMGs is the drama that you get, and usually when I say that I'm referring to the thumping V8 under the hood making all sorts of racket, but here, with the spun-up 6, there are 9 things that take center stage. And I can control each of them with my fingertips on either side of the wheel. If you've been following along, you'll know how fond I am of the 9-speed in these AMG and AMG light cars. The shifts are super crisp, and I love the sound it gives you. However, we need to talk about the ride. Behind the wheel of this thing, it feels like you're riding on air. And that's because you are. You've got air suspension here, which tightens up and adjusts your rebound rates in sport mode. And then from there, you have a really, really tight and disciplined feeling chassis. The steering is quick. It feels more athletic than something of this size should. And then you can just dial it back into comfort mode and smooth off all the rough edges. And when eased back into comfort mode, the car settles down and settles in to accommodate any sort of journey in the luxury, quietness, and refinement that you'd expect from that star. Now let's step outside. So the GLE 53, and not just that, but the GLE 53 Coupe. Now, to most people, you're probably thinking, well, that's silly. They've gone and done away with the practical component of an SUV. That's why you buy an SUV, for the cargo space and the back seat space. And yes, that's true. However, if you've bought this, you're so successful and so well off that you can just forego practicality because you don't need it. If you need something more practical, you'll just get something else. But I think it looks pretty imposing from the front, and it all kind of starts with the AMG effect, right? So that's the power dome hood that we've seen, the rippling here. And then of course we've got the Panamericana grille that seems to have made its way onto the face of pretty much everything. You've got a huge Mercedes star, and of course this houses a lot of your driver assistance suite and your radar for your cruise control and that sort of thing. Of course, you've got your LEDs with your signature dual bar running lights. Now remember, we talk about this in the C to E to S class. It goes single bar for the C, double bar for the E, and then triple bar for the S, and I believe that stays true with the SUVs. And then of course in your lower fascia, it's very typical AMG. A lot of the AMGs have this very familiar lower fascia here. Now, of course, it's mixed in with a bunch of cooling, some gloss black or painted black. You got functional aero bringing air around the face through that high compression wheel area. And then, of course, you've got some additional cooling down here and a pretty cool front splitter. You got parking sensors and all that sort of thing. But I think it looks it looks imposing, it looks intense. And then coming around the side, we do have the arrow that comes across the front, and then across the wheel arches, we do have really flared wheel arches and fenders on the front and the rear. The rear hip is pretty intense. We do have a staggered set of tires though. We've got two 75s up here, Continental cross contact, and then three 15s in the back, because obviously this is rear wheel drive, although it is, rear wheel drive bias, all wheel drive. So we got our 4MATIC Plus, so we can kind of control the amount of power getting sent to the rear, which is great. And then of course we've got our 21-inch wheels. They're kind of a two-tone kind of matted aluminum, not a chrome, but a matted aluminum in black. We've got upgraded AMG brakes, which you can definitely tell behind the wheel. And then we get to kind of the main point here. This is, of course, the coupe body style. So you will forego a little bit of trunk space. You will forego a tiny amount of headroom in the rear seat, but to be honest, sat back there, obviously, it's really not that bad. And then around the back, we've got a nice little molded in lip spoiler here, and then a very different rear end from the non-coupe. And this is what I think you're getting here, is you're getting a very different styling element. You see a lot less of these on the road. You're getting some of that exclusivity, and that's kind of why you would have bought the coupe. Of course, your big Mercedes star in the middle is your trunk release, 53, and then your lower fascia and diffuser. It's all black on black on black. Interestingly enough, 7,700 pounds towing capacity. That's a lot. Let's step inside. And then on the interior of the GLE 53 Coupe, it's kind of the perfect mixture of posh meets rugged. You've got carbon fiber for the performance aspect. You've got really nice dimpled leather on your steering wheel for the luxury and Mercedes component. And then you've got these really beefy grab handles on your center console that are not going anywhere. And that kind of signifies the kind of, okay, it's an SUV, this is a rugged aspect to it. The design actually from the dashboard perspective is very similar to what you would find in a G-Wagon, which I think is just super cool. But like any modern SUV or car these days, the technology is kind of what grabs you right away. You've got dual 12.3-inch screens. They're completely customizable to an almost nauseating degree. You can really have this exactly and any way you could possibly want it, really. There's ambient light trimmed everywhere. We talk about these grab handles down here, across the dash, in your door, in the rear seat. It's fantastic. I think Mercedes is probably one of the best, if not the best, that's doing ambient lighting right now. Your AMG Sport steering wheel, you don't have a red noon marker, but you do have it kind of stitched in here. But you've got all of your touch capacitive buttons, you've got your Distronic and your adaptive cruise and all of your that stuff on the left hand side, and then your media controls on the right hand side. All of the autopilot and stuff, you know, quote unquote autopilot again, works very well. I like that. I like that they haven't overdone it. They have red seatbelts in here, but it's not completely swimming in a sea of reds shouting, "Look at me, I'm a performance SUV." I like that. And then of course down here in the center, under your screen and under your vents, you have physical climate controls, which you love to see. Your BMW is getting away from that in their iDrive 8 system, so it's nice to see that Mercedes is still giving it to you right now. But in terms of materials, attention to detail, build, again, we kind of touched on it. There's beautiful brushed aluminum here. The speaker cover for your Burmester speakers is just immaculate. Again, I love it. The carbon fiber type weave, this is like if Gatsby were to do carbon fiber, this is what it would look like. It's really cool. The stitching is great. It's like a dark gray to go with the black leather. The leathers in here are not what you would find from like even something like a entry-level or mid-range GLS. That's really, really nice leathers in here. Alcantaras, aluminums, everything is really, really nice in terms of the build. Now in terms of the technology, we've got our MBUX or MBUX head unit infotainment system. We've reviewed this a number of times. I don't mind it. I think it's nice. It has a plethora of ways you can interact with it. You can use the touch capacitive button on the right-hand side of your steering wheel. You can use it as a touch screen. You can use it down here on your trackpad. I personally like the trackpad. I know a lot of people don't, but I like it. But there's so many different ways that you can use it. You really can't complain about it. Now this, of course, if you option it, has the AMG package or the track pace, so you can track your telemetry, your engine output, your braking input, you know, all of that stuff you can see in here live, which is just really, really cool. Your 360 cameras have great resolution. You've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You've got a huge head-up display. It's like literally so big. Of course, you can turn it off if you want. And then of course, we talked about your adaptive cruise and your autopilot system being very good as well. And then some of the comfort things that go along with this, of course, you've got your heated seat, you've got cooled seat. I've got the buttons up here on the door card, which is so much more civilized than reaching down at the bowels near the floor where, you know, my muddy or, you know, snowy boots would have been. So that's really, really nice. Of course, you can get massage seats in here. You can get heated and cooled cup holders, which is just the coolest thing. I love that. That's super nice. They actually work pretty well too. And then of course, you've got this big pano roof that goes about halfway into the back seat. I believe it would be a little bit bigger had you not gone for the coupe, but it is still nice. Brings a lot of air and light into here, which would be otherwise just a black cabin. And then in terms of space, you can get a 3-row GLE. If you're not going to get the coupe, don't do that. You're going to get a compromised trunk space, and you're going to get a compromised second and third row if you do that. If you want 3 rows, just go to the GLS. I'm just going to tell you that right now. The GLE here shines as a 2-row. Now, I will say the big question that you'll have is, myself, 6'1", do I fit in the rear seat? Yes, I got to be honest. I've got plenty of leg room, and then I do have some headroom as well. Of course, not as much as I would in the non-coupe, but still I have enough room. And then in terms of the trunk, it's pretty big. It's actually pretty deep. So unless you're going to be stacking things like all the way to the brim, you probably won't notice the huge difference that you would get in terms of the coupe versus the more traditional SUV body style. Again, unless you're packing it to the absolute max, but it is a very deep trunk. There's lots of space back there and it works really well. So again, don't get the 3-row, get the 2-row. But I think it's probably a good time to get in the final thoughts. The GLE 53 AMG, yet another vehicle with a split personality, and yet one that hits pretty close to both. I'm very fond of the GLE as a package. Good look, great space, nice kit, and very Mercedes feeling. And I'm also amazed at this 53 engine. 3-liter, turbo, hybrid, e-supercharger. I mean, there's not much more you could do to an engine to add performance. Altogether then, it feels really memorable, which is a high compliment we don't often pay. So thanks yet again to Mercedes-Benz of Milwaukee for letting me have a go. We'll see you in the next one.